Hey guys, it's Mr. Hanson. I have your guys' work from last week. We had the yellow sheet, spiraling practice on equations, inequalities. Had two green domain and range sheets, so I'm gonna go over those real quick. Not really teaching them too much, but kind of showing you the answer, and then I'm gonna upload these answer keys to the Google Classroom. So on the yellow sheet, you'll notice here that this is just solving equations. This first one is pretty standard, just double distributive property. The second one definitely is a little different. It's a literal equation. A literal equation is just an equation that has more than one variable. So you can see I show all my work, train track it out, check my, make sure each step makes sense. Next, we have an inequality. Inequalities are very similar to equations. There's one special rule with inequalities, and that is if you multiply or divide across, so on both sides, by a negative number, you have to flip the inequality sign so it faces the other way because you're changing the meaning of the problem. So on this one, we solve for x and we get x is less than or equal to 1. So it's a equal to, so that's going to be a closed circle. We know that from our domain and range work. You draw the circle at 1, and since x has to be less than 1 or equal to it, all the possible solutions will be to the left because 0 is less than 1, -1 is less than 1. All of those numbers to the left are possible solutions. Down here, this is you using your mathematic mind. Be a mathematician, find out the errors, try and be a little bit of a teacher here. And you'll notice, and this is a pretty common error that I see with you guys, is sometimes you guys do the same operation twice on the same side. So they subtracted 7 on the same side when really they should have just combined like terms. Combining like terms, you're not adding or subtracting any new numbers, you're just taking what you have and already putting it together. So when the numbers or the terms are on the same side of the equation, you just want to combine. That's one that we really got to get better at. Here, this is a discrete function. It's just a collection of points. And the question was, is it a function? And it's not, because if you did the vertical line test, you'll notice that the input of 1, the x value of 1, has two outputs. It has a y at 4, and it has a y at -2. So that's two outputs for one input. That's not a thing. You're getting played, man. The next one is evaluating functions. This using function notation. So g of x equals -2x plus 3. The x is your input, the g is just the name of the function. So you put in different x values to get different y values, so you get the output. You set them up and get the answer, and I will quickly show you how to do that. So if you take a look, in pink you'll see the final evaluation. So you see g of the input, so g of -1 equals 5. G of 5 equals, whatever, -7. So that is, if you take this input, this is what you'll get. You press this button on the vending machine, this is what you'll get. This next one was quite perplexing. I'm not a big fan this was on here, but it's doable. So you should recognize right away that there's more than one variable involved in this equation, so that definitely tells you it's a literal equation. You solve literal equations the same way, but you gotta be very careful with how you combine like terms because you can't mix different letters, they don't go together. This one was kind of weird. We had to factor out an x from the right-hand side. Basically, we reversed the distributive property, and then we solved from there. And it's a weird answer, but this is really good for science applications and when you are trying to use different formulas. And then lastly, we had T-Swizzle. She had a situation with a haircut, and this is where we have to be mathematicians here. Read the verbal, ask ourselves what it's asking us, define our variables, set up our equation. When we're satisfied with our model that represents this equation, or situation, we solve it, and we realize x equals 2, and what does that mean? It means that she spent 2 hours getting her haircut because she spent $910 with a $215 rate per half hour and a $50 tip, which is kind of a skimpy tip, Taylor Swift. I'm not gonna lie, I wouldn't be too happy with that. So that's your yellow sheet. I'll hit the other ones on the next one.